IceMan here, and welcome to another Raid Shadow Legends video. Today we're going to be doing a guide video on Seer, who is an absolutely amazing nuker in the arena. That is going to be today's focus. We may show a single dungeon run. Everybody who's looked into her will already know that she's used extensively for speed farms in the dungeons, and she is absolutely amazing at that, but I don't want people to overlook what she can do in the arena as well as in the dungeons. So without any further ado, let's crack on with it. Okay, so Seer is a support epic in the Orcs faction. She's an attack based champion, but her main skill is based off of max enemy HP. We're going to start off with looking at how I've got her geared, as previously mentioned in other videos if you have watched them. I'm not an endgame player. I'm starting to get towards that sort of end, picking up a few 6-star pieces, although they're not terribly good 6-star pieces with good substats at this point. But I'm not endgame by any stretch of the imagination. I'm definitely more sort of late mid-game. And on this account, which is actually my alternate account that we're on today because I don't have Seer on my main account, I'm even lower than that. As you can see, obviously she's an attack champion. She's there to do a lot of DPS, so we'll take a quick look at her overall stats. How I've got it built out. We've got 41,000 health, 2,200 attack. I would like that a little bit higher, but you know, defense is okay, nothing special, but enough to keep her alive in the arena at 1,800. Her speed is a fairly healthy 191. I've got a crit rate up to a perfect 100% and a nice healthy 246% quick damage. Obviously I would like that to be a bit higher, but again, you know, it is where it is with the gear. The other thing I would like to improve is her debuff accuracy. Reason being is obviously this does affect whether or not she removes all the buffs. It does affect whether or not she puts people to sleep afterwards, but we're going to cover her abilities right in a second. I've got her in a mix mash of gear really. Speed boots with crit rate. The defense is kind of just what I've got there. Crit damage. Again, we've got a nice chest here. I would prefer to run an attack chest, but this has got a nice triple roll of crit rate, which is why I'm using it. And then we've got quick damage gloves with some crit rate on and some speed and a little bit of attack, even if it is a base stat. Basically more of the same. We've got a quad roll of crit damage here. That's a lovely roll. I think it's pretty much the only quad roll I've ever managed on either of my accounts. Would have preferred speed, to be honest, but oh well. I'm certainly not going to reject it. Anyway, as you can see, I've tried to get her built out in the set as best I can. So we've got a crawl set here, so she ignores 5% of enemy defense and also gets an extra 15% attack. And then I've also gone for a quick damage set to boost her quick damage by an extra 20%. Okay, obviously I've not got her in the best jewellery, it's just what I've got and what's available. I've got her in accuracy with some speed. No rolls on it unfortunately, but it does have attack percentage as a substat, which is nice. Obviously I do want to improve on this. Quick damage of course for the necklace, and then attack for the ring. Again, I was lacking a bit. I would have preferred to have attack percentage as a substat there. Having said that, it does mean that she's got a bit more survivability and she's not going to get knocked down the second she doesn't kill somebody. So it's a bit of a trade-off really, but since there's a bit of setup with her, it can pay off to build a little bit tanky where you can. Okay, so we've done that. Let's move on to the skills. So her A1 knockout attacks one enemy, has a 15% chance of granting an extra turn. A lot of people say don't put this up, and certainly it's not as desirable for the dungeon runs because it can throw your turn order out and all the rest of it. But I quite like this myself. I think it's a brilliant ability, and obviously you've got 20% to get an extra turn. If you can get her in a relentless set, if you've got good enough stats on a relentless set, you even have even more chance to get extra turns, and she can really chain them together. I think I've had her up to 3 or 4 in a row, which is nice when it happens, and this does hit pretty hard. It's not a big money ability, but it does hit solid. Her A2, Clan Banner, places a 30% increased crit rate buff on all allies for 2 turns. Places a 25% weaken debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. Knowing that you're going to be putting this out there, you could lower your crit rate by a little bit, maybe down to 70. I personally don't. I want to nuke as quick as I can, so I'd rather have my crit rate at 100. Then later on in the fight, I may put this up to get an extra buff if needed, but I don't rely on it. And I don't tend to ever really build champions with lower crit rate on the basis that they may get it from a buff. but obviously it's quite nice to get the weaken out there on enemies before you nuke them. The only problem is if you wait that long, you're waiting to your second turn, at which point you may well be dead. As we all know, in the arena, speed is king. Okay, and here we go with our A3. This is a big money ability, Karma Burn. It's one of the best abilities in the game, I think. Removes all buffs from all allies and all enemies, then attacks all enemies. Damage increases according to the number of removed buffs. Has a 50% chance of placing a sleep debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. The chance of placing a sleep debuff increases by 5% for each buff removed. Inflicts less damage to bosses. She does do good damage with to bosses with this. It's not massive. She's certainly not the biggest enemy max HP damage dealer out there, but it can still do good, decent, respectable damage. I've got this put down from the original 6-turn cooldown down to a 4-turn cooldown. I advise you do the same if you pull her, and if you want to be using her, this is the main ability you'll be using. But it is a great ability. And then she's also got an aura. Increases ally resist in all battles by 40. So if you're lacking that and you want that, or you're lacking any real usable aura, this certainly is no slouch. Right, so on to the Masteries. So I've gone for the offense tree and the support tree. It's more of a, for me, because I'm not just using her in dungeons, my primary focus for her is actually the arena, and she happens to do dungeons, and she still does very well in dungeons and clearing waves with this setup. So we've got crit rate, into crit damage, attacking at full health, gives her extra damage. Enemies killed will buff her speed for 6 each, for each dead enemy by 6. We've got increases damage inflicted by 8% for the first hit on each enemy, which is a great one for her, because obviously, especially if you're using her in the arena, but even when you're using her in dungeon runs, you're going to be putting all the buffs out with all your champions. If you can, you'll make her the slowest on your team, and it's buff, 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 buff. So then she is the first one to hit and does even more damage because of that. So that's actually a really good one for her to take. We've then gone for Cycle of Violence to give ourselves a chance to decrease the cooldown of a random skill. Increases the damage. Opportunist increases damage inflicted to targets with stun, sleep, fear, true fear, or freeze. Obviously, this pairs quite nicely with champions that put on stuns, but she will put up a sleep herself. So again, if you can get to them while they're asleep, that helps. You know, again, if somebody else is putting those buffs out there, you can do extra damage by 12%. So that's really good. Then we've got these other two straight down into Flawless Execution for the extra 20% crit damage. Then we've got on the support tree for a accuracy, into more accuracy, into Law of Steel to boost any basic sets you might be wearing. I'm actually thinking, because I use them mostly in the arena, it might be worth swapping that out for Evil Eye at some point to obviously reduce turn meter, and even possibly swapping out this accuracy one once I get her banner up and get her accuracy up higher where I want it, and swapping it out for this one, because again it's got the when a debuff cast by this champion is removed or expires, it has a 30% increase in turn meter by 10%. So again, really useful in the arena. As with all masteries, this is just a guide. It's never a good idea to just copy and paste masteries. Masteries are very dependent on where you're going to use the champion and how you want to use them and who you're pairing them with, even in some cases. Now we'll do a quick dungeon run just to show you what she can do there. Going with dragons. She can actually do all of them reasonably well for clearing waves, and obviously she does a certain amount of damage on the boss. You've got to be a little careful with her on the ice golem, obviously, because she can do a bit too much damage. As you can see, I'm not quite down to Dragon 20 on this account yet, but we're going to just play it safe, and we'll go in for stage 16. I really just want to show you what she can do on the waves. Now, at this point, I'm going to talk about pairing her with champions before we start the run. So most people will say pair her with Mausoleum Mage if you have him. That's great because he throws up lots of buffs and he's a great champion besides, both in the arena and for dungeon runs. I don't have Mausoleum Mage on this account. I also don't have a Duchess, who would also be quite good because she throws out lots of buffs. So the one I've gone for is Vergis. He's a pretty cool champ and he throws out a whole host of buffs, as you can see. Most of them go on one character, but he still puts a couple at least on each character as well. So although he's not quite as good as Mausoleum Mage, and I would certainly use Mausoleum Mage if I had him, since I don't, he is a really good substitute. And as you can see, mine's only level 50, not even level 60 yet, and he still does work for me. So we'll set it to go on auto and you can see how it goes. Anyway, so as you can see, they're all going to come in, buffs going up. There you see Vergis putting up like 3 extra buffs on one character, at least 2 on each other's. So he does a good number of buffs. So you're talking 2, 4, 6, 8. I think he does about 11 buffs on his own. And now Karma Burn comes in, just wipes all those buffs off both sides, and just melts, literally melts the other side. And I do love watching that, and it never gets old. Now obviously, if I was to pair her with somebody who reduces cooldown or whatnot here, I might get a Karma Burn back quicker, and we'd probably have a bit of a quicker run. But I got those champions built up and ready to use. I certainly don't have a Prince Kaimar. I do have a Renegade, I think, but again, not leveled. You see, she didn't quite kill everybody there, but even when she's not killed everybody, she's put everyone to sleep. So they're still not coming back at us, still not doing the damage, and it's a simple matter to just finish them off. Here on the dragon, she tends to be a bit of a pain. She's great, she does do some nice chunky damage every now and then, but of course when she does, she wipes off all those buffs, making it harder for you to actually get through the dragon. So you need a fair bit of basic sustain on your champions that they can maybe get through some of this without. Dying when they've not got the buffs to sustain them as well. Anyway, we'll probably cut this here and just jump straight to the end so you can see what sort of time we got. So as you can see, we've managed to do this in 3 minutes 21. Not the fastest, but certainly a good respectable time. Part of that is obviously just she's not as great on the boss, and with her taking off all the buffs, it can actually slow things down at that stage. So anyway, that was her in a dungeon run. And as you can see, where she really shines is clears the waves, no problem. Okay. So now we're going to take her into the arena, and that's obviously the main focus of today's video. Alright, this is a good team to sort of showcase her on, because a bit defensive, but not hugely defensive, but lots of buffs. And then she's obviously throwing out the buffs, and my whole team's throwing out all the buffs. It's not always a win, don't get me wrong, but the percentages are fairly high. It's really good. It's obviously a little bit about picking the right teams to go up against as well, and sometimes it's just plain luck when you come up against a tough team that you didn't realise would be so tough. We all know how that goes. So let's get your buffs up, get even more buffs up. Obviously everyone here on my team throws out buffs. Verge comes in with all those buffs. They've got a few buffs on their side, and there you go, that's half their team dead, and a good deal of their team pretty much dead. in one foul swoop, and I do love seeing that. And that's the thing, many a time, you know, it will reduce the enemy so quickly, so easily, that it's hard for them to come back. I'm not saying, like I say, it's not always a win, especially if you don't go first. You're quite often in trouble, but then that's why I've got Roshcard in here with a shield set on. I've also got Vergis with a shield set on as a backup, because he was my original shield set person who just put out the extra buff there, which it gives me a buff to remove, but Roshcard gives a much bigger shield, so I've swapped him over to a shield set as well, and still kept his speed nice and high. Right, double reviver, I don't like going up against those really. This one we wouldn't go first, and there's a good chance I was getting locked out. Madame Seris can be a pain because obviously she strips buffs, and obviously you want buffs, so it's very much going to be a speed thing at that point. We'll give it a try, we'll see how it goes. If you can get in there and do your nuke before she strips all the buffs, and if you can do enough damage, then usually you've got the fight won. Even if you don't, just win it outright. But many a time you'll actually just win it outright, which is brilliant. It's fun to watch. No, see, so they're faster. And we've got True Fear on us, so there's a problem. And I don't have a cleanse. So we get all these buffs out. I think I don't want to risk the True Fear, so we are going to buff instead. Okay. Damn it. And that's exactly what we didn't want to happen. Madame Seris has come along and ripped off all those buffs. And that's the danger of going up against her, like I said. But, alright, there's a fair few out there, we'll give it a try. See, a reasonable amount of damage, and obviously we've got some people slain. So, now, I think we'll try and take down Miscreated. Damn it, that's exactly what we didn't want to happen. Okay. Speed boost. Okay, let's get some buffs up. Get some more buffs up. And I get stunned. See, that's the way it goes in the arena sometimes, you know, it's, if you're not fast enough, if you're not getting there, then it's a bit dependent on how things go, really. If I can get this move off before the buffs disappear, although too many of them really have now. Okay, let's do some damage to him. And there comes Madame Seris with a Midnight Ritual again. And we didn't want that. Okay, we'll call this one a loss. I may well be able to save it, but I don't want to take the time in the video to do so. But you can still see how it works in theory, and you saw on the first one obviously. And we will do one more. And we'll leave that running there so you can see just how things can go wrong with it. You see, Kaimar again strips buffs, so he's a good one to avoid. Now this one might be okay. Sort of higher team power, not a lot higher. Right, are we faster? Yes, we are, thank God. Quite a bit actually. Speed boost, shields, buffs. Obviously they've got a shield set or something going on out there, so they've got a couple of shields. Personal shields, sorry, from the gear. But either way, that still helps. So they come in. Alright, only killed one. One is next to dead. And the other two are pretty close too. And we can lock him out. Or just kill him. And then let's come in for the cleanup. So there you go. I mean, that's here in gold 2. And like I say, this isn't as high-end account as my main account, so you know you're not gonna get the same sort of fights. We'll avoid this one, Masteries again. It depends. If I win the speed race, I could probably beat this one. But go on then, we'll give it a try. I'm a glutton for punishment. Just depends how fast their Seeker is. My Gore Grab isn't that fast. I've only got him at about 138, but he is still my fastest champ. I really seem to never get lucky on getting speed gear or speed rolls. Buff. That's not good, they've cut us out and put our skills on cooldown. So, okay, here we go with the extra turn. We've not got quite as many buffs as I would like, but we've still put everyone to sleep. We'll get Basher out because he's pretty close to dead. And we will try and take Aethel down a bit. Let's get her out of the way. Okay, let's go for Masteries. We'll get some buffs out there. I know I'm not going to lock her out, but it's a harder hit and I wanted to kill her. Then it's A1. And then we can just come and tidy Seeker away. And maybe I'll kill him with this now. No. Not quite. I was hoping for one of those great fights that seem to happen here and there, and sporadically I may end up with 3 or 4 in a row, where it's literally just buff, Karma burn, they're all dead. And I would have liked to have shown you that, but I don't want to drag this video out too much longer. Anyway, as you can see, really good team. A big part of it is obviously the synergy of the team as much as her. Virgis puts out a whole load of buffs. He keeps dying on me because I've only got him at 50. I could obviously improve his gear, get him fully ascended and maxed out. That would certainly give him a bit more survivability at the very least. Roskard's brilliant in here because he again brings extra buffs plus a lot of protection, plus he's got the block cooldown. Then you've got Gore Grab, of course. Everybody knows him. He's a good mid-tier speed lead. My fastest champ, unfortunately, on either of my accounts, and gives a good speed lead, gives you revives, but he also does a couple of buffs as well. So again, the whole team buffs, she comes in and nukes, and that's generally the gist of it. So that's Seer in a nutshell. She's a great champ. If you've got her, you're very lucky. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm IceMan. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe. Please give it a like. And I'll see you in the next one. Chill out.